Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Patreon exclusive episode. I am joined today by our lovely friend Ben to review the worst movie review I've seen, Father Mike Schmidt's review of Wicked. Evelyn is unfortunately sick and living in a new apartment that doesn't have Wi-Fi. Thank you so much, Ben, for helping me do this so that I'm not ranting alone to a mic in my room talking to myself and pretending it's interesting.
You're you're welcome. I pray for Evelyn's Pustinia to end swiftly. Poor thing. I feel so bad for her.
Pustinia, that's a word I haven't heard in years. Oh god.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
But I love whipping out like stick terms on you. I
okay.
hope she laughs at that.
I don't think she's ever heard of the word Pustinia.
Oh,
It's the name, though, of a retreat house at the retreat center and spiritual direction school that I am associated with. One half of the side was Pustinia and the other half was Sanctuary. So they called it the Salt and Pepper House. It's SNP. It's like a duplex. One side was Sanctuary and one side was Pustinia.
that's funny because I was actually referencing the concept,
I know.
the name.
Yeah.
Oh,
Isn't
oh
it
good.
Carol
Okay.
Houseland
Thought you
who
were.
has
I
the
was like,
book
okay.
Pustinia?
I don't remember. I just remember the sisters who taught me talking about having their own like Pustinia day, where they would get
Oh,
basically cloistered to one like room of the house and just have all day to do nothing.
oh wow.
Yeah,
The
it was like a
Franciscans call
novice
that
exercise
the
or something.
Hermitage.
But it's funny because they just have a whole wing of the mother house that is, I don't know if it's not used anymore or if it's still like vacant, but it's like a whole big wing because the building is like from the 1800s and it's huge. And so it's like this big, it's this huge building with all these beautiful hardwood floors and stuff. And so there are wings of it that are just not used because there's, I think, 300 to 500 sisters and for a lot more. So they just have a whole section that they get sequestered to.
Wow. I always wondered about that because I've never been to the mother house, but I somehow just assumed that they barely had enough space for all the sisters when they would all be together over the summer or something. That's crazy.
Yeah, they have what essentially looks like barracks
Mhm.
for when all the sisters come back. It's like all the beds like lined up and then there's curtains in between all the beds. And so I think that there's several
Yeah.
of those rooms. I might be mistaken, but I think there's several of those rooms that just have bed after bed after bed. But
Wow. I was saved from that life.
yeah, what a nightmare not having your own cell. My gosh.
Takes poverty to a whole nother level. Okay, let's stop
Yeah.
talking about religious life and start reviewing this movie review. Okay,
Let's do it.
let me know if you want to stop and comment on anything in particular while we watch this.
I'll raise
Wicked.
my hand when I'm feeling
Very popular.
unsafe.
Wicked. Very popular musical. Insanely popular musical. You're gonna say, wait, why are you doing movie
He really thought he ate.
Yeah.
reviews now? Answer is not really.
Yeah.
Let's get started. Hi, my name's Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Essential Presents. One of the reasons why I have this hot take is because I really like L. Frank Baum's original The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I love the origin story of how he came up with these stories. I love his dedication, who he dedicated the books to. I love how he wrote about
Pause. Okay. So this, when he references this, I was like, why is he bringing this up? Who is Who's Baum talking about? And apparently it's his wife who was like really mean to him, which I think is so funny. I love the fact that he dedicated this to his wife who was like so mean. I don't know all the details about Frank Baum's relationship with his wife, but it seemed like she was just like constantly annoying him. And he was like, I love you anyway, sweetheart. Because it's like the 1800s, so they talked like that probably. I just thought that's funny that he brings that up. This dedication is like so inspiring to him.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I had the same question and I looked it up and got a story that he, when he was first introduced to his wife, he said to her, "Consider yourself loved." and then proposed to her after 3 months, and her parents were mad, but they got married anyway. And one day he brought home a box of donuts, and she got mad because it's her job to decide what food comes into the house. So if he buys it, he's responsible for making sure it gets eaten. And after a few days, they got moldy. And so he buried them in the backyard rather than have to admit to her so that she wouldn't find them. And then she dug them back up out the yard and presented him this box of dirty, muddy donuts. And he promised to never do the grocery shopping again.
Sounds like a great relationship.
Oh, it's
Like,
great.
I don't
Um,
okay.
that's so sweet. A
Yeah.
man dedicated his book to his wife. That is such a sweet origin story. Like, that's so basically, he's not the only man to have dedicated it.
Feminism is saved. Yeah, feminism is saved. It's, like, it's amazing, and you know what's interesting about him is that his family was very involved in suffrage. Frank Baum's
Mhm,
aunt was a suffragette, and I think his mother too, but I don't remember, but they were very super pro-suffrage. He
mhm.
had some weird racial baggage where he advocated for the genocide of indigenous peoples several times, but some people argue that was like satire. Have you ever read, I forget what it's called. It's like Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Or no, the baby one. The one where it's Eat Your Babies. Forget what it's called. It's like British literature where it's about
Oh,
what is
oh,
it?
oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, no,
Modest
I'd say
Proposal by Jonathan Swift.
and the modest proposal is to eat your children.
Yes, and so it's satire. So a lot of people say that his opinions on indigenous people is that kind of satire, but they argue that it's probably
Mm.
not. So there's some weird stuff going on with the guy who wrote the original Wizard of Oz. Just weird stuff. Relationship is weird. Racism is bad. It's weird. Straight.
Saying he
Anyways,
has racial baggage is a weird way of saying he was hateful toward indigenous people, but
yeah, I the only reason I said that is because there's several things.
I
It's
get
not
it.
just that one thing. There's several things.
Um,
Oh,
I
continue.
he should have brought his receipts to this. It makes me so upset that he normally regularly posts long videos, but couldn't bring himself to actually elaborate on what he meant when he said he loved the original the source material of The Wizard of Oz. So when I
Right.
tried to look it up, he says, "Oh, I love how he came up with The Wizard of Oz." So I looked up, how did L. Frank Baum come up with The Wizard of Oz? And this is what Google told me, and I didn't look into it more, so take it with a grain of salt. That he drew inspiration from many sources, including his life experiences, the community of Makatawa, and his mother in law, Matilda Jocelyn Gage, who was, I think, suffrage feminism writer. His life experiences, skepticism of religion, belief in self reliance, fairy tales, and economic struggles.
Yep.
So, what was Father Rick Schmitz talking
Yeah.
about?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's like honestly, I have no explanation. I don't know.
Do we have an
I have no
explanation
idea.
for any of this?
We might, depending on what he says.
Let's keep coming.
All right.
how the Tin Woodsman came to be the Tin Woodsman. He actually was originally a normal man, a woodcutter, and he was in love with a Munchkin maiden, and this witch cursed his axe, and he just this whole story. It's always moved me, touches my heart in a deep way. When Wicked came out, I was like, wait a second. I have some issues here. Now, what's Wicked? Wicked is basically a retelling of the origin story of the Wicked Witch of the West and of the Good Witch Glinda. And basically goes back and says, here's the real story of Glinda. Here's the real story of the Wicked Witch of the West, who was named Elphaba in the book Wicked. But what do I like about the musical? I really like the music. If you go see the movie, I think the music is great. Some of the lyrics are very clever and really creative. I love it. The voices of the singers, of the actresses, especially in the musical, are insane. The visualization, awesome. Here's my movie review, right? Here, I'm the expert. Also, I want to say this. I want to say that you go back and you say, here's why Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, was who she was. This is how she got to be the Wicked Witch of the West. So the understanding is that Elphaba is not really wicked. She just has experienced a life of rejection. And not only that, but she's seeing oppression and she's seeing injustice. And because she wants to do something about oppression, because she wants to do something about injustice, she's being pushed to the margins more. And so she's not actually wicked. She's just misunderstood. She's not actually wicked. She's just been rejected so long. She's not actually wicked. She's actually truly in truth in the story, rebelling against the tyrant.
Okay.
And in doing so,
And if we end the video here, it would be great because this is an accurate representation of what is happening in Wicked. This is very accurate so far. But then there's what? I don't know, 4 more minutes
Oh, God.
of him just saying stuff. So I guess go on.
so they just start calling her wicked. It's a sign of maturity to recognize that everyone's on their journey. It's a sign of maturity to recognize that everyone has a story, and to be curious and kind about that story is so very good. So that is the positive stuff about Wicked that I think is true.
How does he go from this to what he says next? I don't understand.
Girl, put on your wig and go home. It's fine. End the video here. I just don't understand. So he knows all of this stuff. And then what he's about to say is literally the exact opposite of what he just said. I don't know what movie he's watching. I don't know.
The movie he's watching is probably Bishop Barron's reaction to Wicked.
Did Bishop Barron react to Wicked?
No, I don't know. I'm just making fun of Bishop Barron because he said some things about Conclave, and I'm like, you didn't even watch the movie. That's not even what? That's not the movie at all.
Yeah, it seems like Bishop Barron did not talk about Wicked at
Oh,
all.
we've been robbed.
We've been deprived.
Okay, everyone watching our video definitely doesn't even know what we're talking about if they haven't seen this yet. So let me go ahead and let him say some of the unhinged things he has to say about this movie.
Good idea.
And I think it's true about our own lives. On the other hand, I think there's a difference between explaining and explaining away. Like it makes sense. We all have a story, right? We all have our journey, and there's reasons why we do what we do. There's something powerful and wise about trying to understand our story. These are the reasons. But there's also things that are like, oh, these are my excuses. There's such a thing as, wow, I really have a short temper, and I have it for these reasons. I just sometimes X, Y, and Z. Versus, I have a short temper. And you know why? Because people picked on me when I was younger, or because I'm Irish, or because whatever the thing is. That's how I'm built. One is a reason, and I understand that. I can maybe actually get better. The other is an excuse. That means I don't have to get better. There's a difference between explaining and explaining away. Ultimately,
Okay, I just want to butt in and say I don't understand even what he could be referring to in this because I know what he means, obviously, about explaining versus explaining away or an excuse but what is he even referring to? Is Elphaba actually wicked? Up to this point, we haven't seen her do anything wicked. We've seen her just be bullied and shunned at school and then kicked out of Oz for what? Asking for the animals to have rights? Not even to have more rights, just keep the rights that they already have. So what is he even talking about? Has he skipped ahead and seen Wicked Part 2 and judging her based off of something she does there? The whole point of this is to show her story and again, how she's just been cast as the villain when she never actually did anything bad. It's all just the narrative around her that she's bad. So I don't know what he's referring to about explaining away what behavior. Like,
Yeah, 5 stars. Just a great analysis of what he just said. I feel the same way. I don't really know. It sounds like he's a stan. Like, it sounds like he's a Wicked stan and he's seen it on Broadway like 50 times or something, because the way he's describing it is like he's seen it so many times, like he knows like exactly what's gonna happen next. Which I love that for him. If he's a Wicked stan, love. I truth be told, throughout the whole, like I've seen it live, I think twice. I don't remember, once or twice. And from what I remember, I don't think she does anything genuinely wicked the whole movie, or the whole show. I don't think she does anything genuinely evil or sinful the whole time, other than make out with Fiero, but
how dare she steal someone
like,
else's boyfriend?
which Trent Horn would say is fine.
Probably not okay when a girl does it, but a guy can do it. A guy can go for a girl who's dating somebody else. But if a girl does that and steal, yeah.
Yeah, because it's rightly ordered. It's rightly ordered for men to be creepy and
The
horrible.
girl shouldn't be pursuing anyone. We're just sitting
Right.
here waiting for a
Uh,
man to have mercy on us and show us a scrap of attention, Ben. That's what it means to be a woman.
show us mercy. Oh my god.
The only thing I can think of is that she tries to place a spell to save Fiyero and it backfires. And that's all I'll say if anyone happens to have not seen Wicked the play 2 times like I have and Ben has, apparently.
Which which is another example of I don't know. I'm sure all of your followers are either like current hate watching Catholics or like ex-Catholics who are like in love with you. So you all should know the prerequisites of sin or the prerequisites of evil in general. And the prerequisite is that you know what you're doing is wrong. So if we're using the Catholic definition of evil or wickedness, all of the bungles that she does are not intentional. So she's not doing anything evil, period. So I don't know there's no like wicked act that Glinda treats her poorly. So Glinda can behave in a kind of a wicked way, but she gets forgiven.
She repents,
Madame
you know.
Morrible is obviously wicked. She repents, yes. Perfect contrition. Yeah, I don't really know what he's referring to, but maybe we can continue and see what he's talking about.
In this story, and many stories like it, because it's not just this one, right? Many stories like it, a lot of postmodern stories. It's not, let me understand what's going on here. It's, oh, if you only understood, you realize that it's not so bad. And that's the next case. That ultimately, in the story, Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, isn't actually wicked. She's just misunderstood. It's her only perspective. And actually, the Good Witch Glenda isn't actually good. She's just popular. And again, I would say that there's a degree to which we need to be aware of that. The more mature we are, the more we realize that just because someone's misunderstood doesn't mean they're wrong or bad. Just because someone is popular and people like them or famous doesn't mean that they're good. That totally makes.
I just can't believe that he said that
So
out
he just
loud.
so he just described the point of the musical. That's the point. That's the point, I'm afraid, is that not everything that appears great is great.
Have you noticed that if Catholics are trying to have a good take or like a hot take, they know that they have to couch it in so many. Actually, I get how, like, actually they're right, but I still need to critique it because that's my job and I need the clicks. He's talked about how Elphaba is hated because for why? Because she's different than everyone else, because she's being racially discriminated against, because she's pointing out oppression in the world. And so she's demonized for, but wickedness is just misunderstood, and that's wrong. The point is that she's been framed as the wicked one when there's actual wicked people existing who framed her as the wicked person. That just because you call something wicked doesn't make that the wicked thing. And just because you call it good doesn't make it good. It's not saying that there isn't good and bad or right and wrong or good and evil, which is what he is about to say.
I think that there are so many examples, like even in scripture, of Jesus himself making this dichotomy of people who appear good are often, and people who appear evil are often not that way. The parable of the Good Samaritan, Jesus rebuking Simon Peter. These are all examples of the thief on the cross. That's literally the gospel. That's, I don't know, 50% of the gospel is that things are not always as they seem, and like, we need to judge on the heart versus judging by religious outward appearance.
Then I can't believe that you, as a gay apostate, would have the audacity to even suggest you have more biblical literacy than the Father Mike Schmitz.
I'm going to be honest, Father Mike Schmitz isn't a biblical scholar either. So priests are not biblical scholars. They're priests. We're on the same level. Sorry. That was offensive.
Who knows how many scripture? I may have taken more college level scripture classes than he has. Who's to say? How are we to know?
And that's not yeah, that's not really the point. I'm joking when I say that priests aren't scripture scholars. They aren't, but I'm not saying that I know better than him. I'm just saying that in an effort to attack postmodernism, what he's actually doing is he's making the gospel seem fallacious. I don't really know what he's trying to accomplish by doing this.
Let's see what else he says, and maybe we will find out.
Where we're erasing the difference between good and evil and saying it's all a matter of perspective. bad is just actually misunderstood and good is just popular, then you realize that there's no good and no evil. And yet, L. Frank Baum's Wonderful Wizard of Oz is a story of people, good and evil, of vice and virtue, of there's a real right and there's a real wrong. To rewrite a story where that's not the case, I think is wrong. But maybe one of
Like
the things that just
what?
bothers me the most about
Like
the
what is
whole
he
thing, and
saying?
the reason that
I, I love him
What is he saying?
saying there is real right and wrong. And I think the movie writers are wrong.
What is he? I don't understand. He's neglecting to actually analyze the story of what is actually occurring. What is actually occurring is that this guy who is painted as God, essentially, is abusing and allowing the mistreatment of other creatures. He's taking their abilities away, he's mistreating them. And so this person who is in a position of power is being challenged by this person who once thought them to be a good person. That's it's just, and he's also skirting around the issue that nobody is saying that this is rewriting the Wizard of Oz story. This is just fan fiction. Wicked is fan fiction, and everybody knows this. Gregory Maguire wrote Wicked not to be like, this replaces the story. It's just a fun story. That's the point. But he's not. And later in this video, he actually says that Gregory Maguire stole the Wizard of Oz from
Yes.
Bond, which is an insane thing to say. That's an insane thing to say.
Does
Like,
he realize that the Wizard of
what
Oz
are we
was
doing?
over 100 years old? Like,
It's in the public domain, baby.
no, it was stolen. It's his intellectual property.
I had avoided this for so long.
Dig
Again, as
him
I
up.
said, like the lyrics, like the music, like the voices of the actresses, they're incredible. It's because of a thing called retconning. Take someone's character, take someone's story, and you rewrite it either to fill a plot hole or because like you're saying, but what if it's actually this? And that's what the author of Wicked did with The Wizard of Oz. You take these characters where the wonderful Wizard of Oz, the wizard himself, isn't a tyrant. He's not a wizard. He's not evil. He's just foolish in some ways. He's deceptive, yes, but that deception gets called out. But he's not a dictator. Wicked is, but what if he is? And same kind of thing.
He
What
is a
is going
dictator
on?
in the original Wizard of Oz.
What
Dude,
is going on in his brain? Two
like,
things.
he's
First
evil
of all,
in the original Wizard of Oz.
right and wrong is so real. And it is wrong of the Gregory Maguire and Steven Schwartz and the movie creators. They're all wrong for stealing L. Frank Baum's work and retconning it 100 years after it was published, 125 years after it was initially published in 1900. That's wrong. But the wizard, he's not evil. He's just deceptive. But I mean, he gets called out for being deceptive, so that doesn't make him a dictator. He literally claims that the
Yeah.
Emerald City is made of emeralds, but then he makes everyone screw green glasses onto their faces so that they're seeing everything through green colored glasses to literally make everything seem green. They're like, oh my gosh, how is all of this so green? It's the freaking glasses you're forced to wear. And then he has he's behind the curtain. That's the whole thing, is that he's not actually the great and powerful Oz. In the movie, he doesn't actually have any magic at all. It's all just smoke and mirrors where he lies and pretends because he wants power over them. But he's not a dictator. He's not a dictator. And he's not wrong. The movie creators are wrong. But the wizard, he isn't wrong. Have you read the
Yeah.
book? He's not wrong.
Who's the moral relativist here? Because he's the one that's saying that deception is not wrong. So are we the moral relativists now? What are you talking about? I just can't. Once he gets to this point in the video, I'm like, I remember watching this the first time and just sitting there, what? Like, this is, it's like he didn't even watch the movie or even read the book.
Or even read the Wizard of Oz book.
No.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I completely forgot he said that stuff about oppression in the first half, because everything he has said since admitting that Elphaba points out oppression is just crazy. It's like he understands the dynamics, but doesn't care to apply that to the plot at large. He's just getting hung up on the semantics of explaining away that Elphaba is not actually evil. Okay, it's just a thought experiment for us to question our biases of how we'll just believe someone when we hear them be called evil, even though we have seen none of her actually being evil in the book itself, hardly, because she dies at the beginning of the book. Or no, I guess she did. No, sorry, that's the other wicked sister. Sorry, but Dorothy's just told
Different
this
sister.
narrative.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here's the Wicked Witch of the West. What if they're all cheering that she's dead for the wrong reasons? Here's Glenda, the good witch. What if she's actually not good? My
What if
problem
they
with this
are?
is you can do that if you invented the characters. You can do that if it's your story, but to take someone else's characters, someone else's story and say, what if, I think it's unjust. Because now people say, no, this is actually Elphaba's backstory. No, it's not Elphaba's backstory. Some other person stole someone else's idea and put their own twist on it. That's wrong. It's really annoying. And you might have just said, you know what else is annoying, Father Mike?
That's wrong. That's really annoying. This guy is a simp for the Wizard of Oz.
So he's saying, I find it so funny that he's using the word unjust to describe a movie.
But the
A
wizard isn't
movie.
unjust.
You know what's unjust? Yeah, you know what's unjust in the world? Not wicked. There's a lot of things that are unjust. I don't know, the past few weeks. I just don't understand. This is just great. This is like the ramblings of an insane person. I don't know what he's
They don't even make sense.
It seems like it seems to me what he's trying to do is he's starting from the point of this is postmodern literature. I have to make this fit the Catholic analysis of postmodern literature that claims that it's morally relativistic. But what he's doing is he's creating a straw man of Wicked, and then he's trying to cram it into the box that is moral relativism. And there's none in Wicked. The only moral relativist is Father Mike Schmitz, because he's sitting here saying that deception is not wicked. So what are we doing?
What would be so much cooler is if he just tried to look at, for example, Galinda through that lens of moral relativism and how she is stuck in her own little world and has an up and down relationship with trying to be a good person. And instead, he just is reductive and reduces the dynamic to the very thing, the very point of Wicked is to challenge that narrative. And that's really stupid because if she's wicked and if she's good, this is really relativistic. It's literally not. There's still a good and an evil. Are you literate at all? Are you media literate? Do you know how to analyze anything? It kills me. It kills me.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Let's try to get through this video. I hate it so much.
That's wrong. It's really annoying. And you might have just said, you know what else is annoying, Father Mike? Listening to you for the last 12 minutes or however long
Amen.
it's been. But I got to tell you, this is what's on my heart, on my mind. What do you think? Put it down in the comments below. If you disagree with me, that's completely fine. Why? Because we're just talking about a story. We're just talking about a musical. It's not life and death. But at the same time, I don't like erasing good and evil for just misunderstood or popular. I think there's something we lose when we do that. Put your thoughts down below. If you want to argue about it, please be nice. Want to take a shot at me? Please be nice. Very thin skin over here. For all the series that presents, my name's Father Mike. God bless. I actually don't have thin skin. It's fine. It's normal thickness of skin. But just so you know, okay, fine. Let me know your thoughts. Like and share. Subscribe. God bless. Popular.
Oh my gosh, I messed that up. Okay. It's not that deep. You just got so mad about how Gregory Maguire stole from Elfrink Baum.
So I think that maybe part of this has to do with the fact that Gregory Maguire is gay and openly Catholic and gay.
Oh my god, you're so right. He's retconning Catholicism.
I think maybe because this opinion is so charged and so strange and so Father Mike Schmitz, I want to make it very clear. Father Mike Schmitz is a very smart guy. This opinion should not be coming from the mind of someone who's so smart. It just seems like he's just trying to he's trying to make something fit. He's trying to be what's the word? When you just want to be argumentative for the sake of being argumentative.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It sounds like I actually do know that it's the story about oppression and challenging the worldview, but then for the rest of the video, he just reduces it to wicked is just misunderstood and good is just popular. That's the point, Father Mike, is that often we just believe that when in reality, the good and what's framed as the good is often just what's popular, which even, my goodness, is the same exact thing the church says all the time. The worldview is that you got to go against the grain. And if everybody's doing it, then it must mean that it's not right. You got to be countercultural and against the world. So I would think you would eat it up that you would stand up for the little guy and preferential option for the poor, and you would be called wicked and burned at the stake for it. Hello. Versus bowing down to the powers of the world, the earthly powers, the political powers, and then being called good for it. Would you rather be called good by God or good by the world? But then he
This
somehow
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. He's confusing the Joan of Arc archetype for postmodern or whatever Jordan Peterson says, postmodern neo-Marxism. He always says that phrase. Whatever that means. It means nothing. But I don't understand what the contrarian. The word is contrarian. He's just trying to be
yes,
contrarian and
yes.
it doesn't work. And I wonder, can you scroll down and see what people think?
Oh my gosh, yes, I was gonna ask if you wanted to do that.
Because I didn't look at the comments at all, and I wonder if people are living or not living.
Okay. It's literally not. They're missing the whole
So it seems
point.
all very
He's that the wizard is evil, that the whole point is the wizard is it's so obvious too. You don't even have to this is just making a backstory to a character that belongs to a different author is called making a fan fiction, and it should be considered the real story. It's just something a fan did to rewrite the universe the way they see it. Oh,
okay,
that's fun. Everyone loves
then what is
fan fiction.
Dante's Inferno?
Literally.
Like what so much of Catholic media is fan fiction about religion. What are we doing? It's a story that's the polar opposite of Christ.
Okay, no, wait. I'm glad this person said that because I was going to forget to talk about Maleficent. This person says, I saw Wicked live in London and loved it. Want to see the film because I love fairy tale and fantasy. However, I do agree with your points. They did the same thing with Maleficent, putting a spin on the Wicked Fairy from Sleeping Beauty and making it that she's just misunderstood or rejected or mistreated. That's why I can't bring myself to watch it. Okay, yes, he has a point that they. It's not like this is new, though, to try to explain away the person you think is evil. Because, yes, they did that with Maleficent, and then Disney that idea into the ground with later remakes and adaptations of other Disney films and stuff like that. That's a very common thing. However, that's not an evil thing. I think it's important when it comes to examining injustice in the way that some groups are demonized. It's not excusing away their actions, it's just making you see them as real people who have stories. And he even says that, oh, it's good to understand what your journey is and how you got to that point on your journey. But also, you shouldn't make excuses for evil. No one has made excuses for any of Elphaba's actions. But you're making a lot of excuses for the wizard's evil's actions, buddy. And this is why this made me so upset because of everything else going in the world right now. You're going to make a video about Wicked more than 2 months after it was released, mind you. Okay. 2.5 months ago, it went in theaters. And now you're going to release. You could have said anything about American politics, about Trump, about the rise of fascism. And it just, not that this should surprise me, but clearly he will never say anything to call out Trump for anything he does. He might not even see how what Trump is doing is wrong because you're just going to assume that authority is good and they're right, and everyone else who challenges that authority is wrong. No matter if they're standing up for what they think is right or not,
Right.
standing up for the rights of oppressed people, which I thought were Christian values. But instead, we're going to fall for medieval stuff about the ancient anointed king.
Yeah, no, literally, that's exactly what this is. It's like ancient integralist Catholic belief of authority is ordained by God, therefore it must be good. And I don't know if I've heard a message that's like more unchristian or more contrary to like what Jesus actually talked about. Even if you look at early church literature, the entire martyrology is full of people who are like being contrarian to authority. That's like the whole
That's
point.
the whole.
Yeah. Anyways,
I can't believe
should I
I
go
haven't.
to a Steubenville conference and approach him and confront him?
What a precious gift from God, Father Mike. Yeah, maybe you should confront him. He came to campus once while I was there, and everyone was, like, going crazy over it.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me. I mean, the stuff that he says is just pretty. I mean, his I've watched almost all of his videos, and most of it just seems to be like reiterations of like stuff that Pope Benedict XVI says in the UCAT. Like that's just what it seems like most of
Not
the
the
time.
Utah,
Oh, I have my copy of the UCAT in the closet back there.
where it belongs.
Yeah.
Did you have the UCAT prayer?
No, I it's what are you referring to?
Like
Was it a prayer book?
yeah, it was a different color.
No, but I had Jason Everett's prayer book called Pure Faith.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Yeah. My favorite prayer book was this tiny little one. It's literally this big, and it's called Flowers from the Garden of the Precious Blood, and it's from, like, the 1920s, and it's, like, ancient, like, the liturgy of the liturgy. Oh my god. The litany of the Blessed Virgin Mary doesn't include several titles of her because it's so old, and
Oh
so
gosh.
it's my favorite because it's so gothic and
Yeah.
strange.
Wow. Loving old prayer books just because it's like
Yeah,
grandma pious devotion and Latin trade. Great aesthetic.
totally. It's amazing aesthetic, yeah. What was your favorite?
My favorite prayer book,
Yeah.
I had this tiny little first communion prayer book that was like very small. I thought of it because you were talking about very small. And it had the little clasp that clasps the sides together. And in the front of it, it had this like little gold crucifix that was laminated over in the front cover. And then this like tiny book with all these random
Wow.
prayers. And I prayed all those prayers in that like a ton of times, starting from when I was 7. I wish I knew where that
Wow.
was. Very niche.
Dang. Yeah, so niche. One of my friends gave me a Are you familiar with Father Lassance
No.
at all? Father Lassance was a priest, I think in the United States, who wrote a ton of stuff. He wrote Catholic guides for boys and girls, prayer books. He wrote like the first manual for Eucharistic adoration, I think. He has a famous missal that's very popular with sedevacantists because it was written in 1955 and it's still in print. And he has so many of these like little books, and they're all like one of them is that I actually own. My friend got me. It's the Catholic School Guide for Girls. And it's just crazy. It's wild. Like old-timey, relating the virtues to certain types of flowers, and it's like, the chrysanthemum is, like, the virtue of temperance or, like, whatever, and it's just so I don't know, it's funny, like, these old books talking about vice and virtue.
I love that. I loved the St.
Yeah.
Alphonsus Liguori Visits to the Blessed Sacrament. There's 30 different reflections to read when you visited at the Adoration Chapel. And we had a really big Adoration Chapel
Wow.
renovation when I was in high school at my parish, and they put copies of it in every pew. But I absolutely fell in love with those. It was all just nice messages of Jesus speaking to you. I looked up this Father Lassance guy, and he also has visits to Jesus in the tabernacle, hours and half hours of adoration before the Blessed Sacrament, with a novena to the Holy Ghost and devotions for Mass, Holy Communion, etc. I freaking love old books and their hella long title
Mhm.
pages.
Yes. Yes, for sure, yeah. There's some people who say that he should be up for sainthood because of all of his work,
Oh, of course.
but, of course, because if you write a lot, that means you're a saint. Or if you were a recent pope, that also means you were a saint. If you die, it means you're a saint.
If you're
Lots of things can
famous
mean
and
that
the
you're a
people
saint,
who know you
apparently.
are rich, then you're a saint.
Yeah, if you had fake stigmata.
Man, it didn't even occur to me to say having stigmata.
Um,
I'm really disappointed now. That was all it would have taken.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of medieval historians that argue that it was self-harm that was not remembered. So like probably in a manic state or something, which I think is probably the most likely explanation.
Isn't St. Francis one of the first documented cases of the stigmata? That was 1,200 years
I
after
think he was actually the
Christ.
first, yes.
The spirit is moving in a new way, people,
Mhm.
1,200 years after Jesus' death. But I totally would have believed that of St. Francis. Did you
Me
were
me when
you
I see
like
glory dust on my hand, the spirit is
yeah,
moving.
there you go. Exactly. Behold, I'm doing a new thing. That's what it is in the scripture. Behold, I'm doing a new thing. Giving stigmata to my son Francis,
Yes.
who regularly throws himself into thorn bushes to
Yes.
avoid lusting after women and won't make eye contact with any girl.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever, man. It is what it is. Oh no, not the Marian Grace. I sent Veronica this Marian Grace album that I used to listen to, and now it's in her suggested on the side of
Yeah.
the
I'm hoping that at least somebody out there is looking at all these suggested videos and laughing because it's been distracting me.
Paul J. Kim.
Yeah, I
So
didn't
real.
know. Oh, The Chosen season 5. But you probably left the church too soon to get into The Chosen, right?
Yeah, I wasn't anywhere near
Ugh,
Chosen.
darn. I need someone to talk to me about it, but I'm not going to subject anyone to sit down and watch it if they haven't already. I love
Is
Father
it
Mark
is it
Mary over
Catholic
here.
made? Why do Catholics like it so much?
Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus, is Catholic.
I see, okay. Oh, that's
So,
right, because he went to sea.
yeah, probably. He's so famous now.
Yeah.
Hallow
He's the
got
new Jim
him and
Caviezel.
Jim Caviezel. No, literally, he got literally, I'm telling you. Hallow got him and Jim Caviezel to do 40 days Lenten reflections where they trade off days. So Jesus is, and whenever he
But isn't
prays for Hallow, he prays in his Jesus accent that he learned for the show, which is just like this weird pastiche Middle Eastern accent, or like their idea of what his accent should be.
yeah. Wasn't isn't Jim Caviezel a sedevacantist?
Is he?
I thought he was. Him and Mel Gibson, I thought they were either sedevacantist or SSPX people, like recognize and resist the Pope people.
They're
I
like
thought they were, but I'm not
QAnon.
sure. Let me
I'm
see.
looking this up. I know that they're like QAnon-y. Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
SETI.
So
Is
it doesn't seem like he is.
is
I must
SSPX
be I'm mistaken. He's QAnon, but he's not a sedevacantist. Mel Gibson is a little bit closer to sedevacantism because he accused Pope Francis recently of heresy, I think.
for what?
Because because Pope Francis apparently put a statue of the Pachamama on the altar or something.
Oh, that wasn't recent. The Pachamama was before I even went to Austria. They had that synod on
Yeah,
something, and they had the
yeah.
Pachamama. Yeah, because I went to the Vatican and did the VIP Vatican tour for €100 a few months after that whole debacle had happened, and they showed us the grove where the iconic photos of the outdoor thing had taken place at the time.
I'm seeing an article by Tim Staples where it seems as though thus the symbol of the Pachamama can also be as a symbol of the people of the Amazon region that could have fulfillments in our Blessed Lord, the Church of our Mother, or of course in the Blessed Mother, when you consider, as Pope Francis said above, that these people had already been evangelized some 40 years plus prior to the Synod, that this symbol apparently had already been changed among them into a deeper or more Christianized meaning. To say Pope Francis was guilty of idolatry is wrong, if not irresponsible. So he's making the argument that it's pagan idol that was sublimated into Catholicism,
Oh
which,
no, not
I
syncretism.
don't know.
Isn't that all of
You're
Catholicism
right.
is paganism rebranded?
Most of our customs are just
Exactly.
replacements for paganism because we saw pagan stuff happening and we were like, we're going to dominate that. And so that's why. I don't
Speaking of
subscribe to the belief that like all Christian stuff is secretly pagan, though. I think that's incorrect.
No, I don't necessarily believe that either. But by the way, we're not making up this stuff about Jim Caviezel and QAnon. He gave an impassioned speech at a QAnon convention in 2021, which he was then praised for by a Catholic bishop in Texas. That's great. Good for him. Jim Caviezel is obviously known for playing Jesus in the Mel Gibson Passion of the Cross. But speaking of Jim Caviezel, he also played the role of Tim Ballard in The Sound of Freedom in 2023. Check out Father Mike Schmidt's review of the Sound of Freedom movie, The Tragic Reality of Child Sex Trafficking. Now, I don't know if any of you guys were so blessed or cursed to have seen The Sound of Freedom, but it ruined my life. I really did not like that movie. It's
Did
so
you
bad.
watch it? Did you
Did you
actually go
watch
and
it?
watch it?
I saw it in theater.
No.
I saw it in
Oh
theater
God.
with my family before I told them I wasn't Catholic anymore. And I was still going to church at the time. And I was actively trying to get over my anxiety about talking to them about it. And this movie is just so bad and is rooted in so much good, so much made up, sensationalized stuff. But it also stars Jim Caviezel. And it was produced by Angel Studios, which is the same studio that does The Chosen about Jesus. So The Chosen was sort of Angel's first big project, and now they're trying to break into the box office more, and they have all these different stuff. They also did the Cabrini film. I don't know if you saw that. I was seeing ads for that a lot last
I didn't
year.
see it, but I know what you're
There
talking
was
about.
I didn't see it either, but then there was another one about some girl with a disability, like a physical disability. I was seeing ads for that a lot on Facebook. Anyway, yeah, that'll have to be a different video to talk about the Sound of Freedom because I have so many thoughts about it. Because not to say, obviously,
You're gonna have
child
to
trafficking is
you're gonna have to yap about that one alone.
yeah,
'Cause I don't know. I don't know.
that'll be a that'll be a solo. I have no I don't know. I don't have like big triggers or anything like that, but that often means I'm stuck watching awful things by myself because my friends are like, I gotta tap out for this one. That happened also when I watched The Keepers, the Netflix documentary about Sister Kathy from my hometown. So maybe I'll have to do a Keepers review too. Then anyway, those
Yeah.
are all future things.
Anyways.
Thank you for joining me for this movie review, Ben.
Oh, it was a great pleasure.
You can be honest.
I always love talking about I always love talking about No, I do. It was a pleasure. I always enjoy talking about Father Mike Schmitz's opinions because there's a lot of them and they're very kind of diffuse.
Yeah, it really made no sense. I really don't understand the amount of brain. What is the word I'm trying to think of even? I don't know, the amount of just disconnected from reality you have to be to say stuff like that and be okay with yourself. Cause either you're not seeing reality or like you said, he is smart. So how does he sleep at
Yeah,
night?
he's a very smart guy.
He
I
would
don't
be
know. I don't know. Again, I think that this is
silencing the animals.
I think it's just that he's trying to I think that this is the new world. I think this is the new world, Veronica. We're gonna have to deal with this for 4 years, or if there's an emperor for forever. I think we're just gonna have to deal with people spreading propaganda about movies that mean essentially nothing related to what the actual movie said, but just propaganda. This is propagandist.
The movie about propaganda. If you want to watch actually good commentary
I
on
didn't even
Wicked,
realize that.
I high key recommend Matt XI. Would you say Matt 14? I don't know. He has a little bit fruity podcast and it's great. And he has his Instagram where he puts together great graphics of things. He has some great commentary on Wicked. And if you watch that, I don't know. It's just they don't even try to hide. The Wicked movie doesn't even you don't even need to think hard to put the pieces together about the plot, about who the bad guy is. Her name is Madame Horrible, as in horrible. And she's working with Oz and lying to everyone. They trick her into then oppressing the animals more when she was just asking him to not. And anyway, sorry. We already talked about it. We're gonna
Yeah. Have a great week. Another week of terrors is over.
only 200 to go.
Yeah. All right.
On that
Bye.
note.